Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you're listening to
Girls Nerd Out. Hey everyone, it's me, Amanda, and my bestie, Andrea.
Hello.
And we are very, 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 very excited to talk to you about a very popular show. It's doing very well. It is trending. And it's Agatha All Along, which is great because it's spooky season. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I didn't have plans to watch this at first, but I kept seeing it like on the FYP everywhere, everybody talking about it. And I was like, okay. And then I was convinced to watch the first episode. And then I was hooked. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Like, it's so well done. And it's surprising to me. And so I talked Andrea into watching it because I knew the first episode would be so great for her. The first episode is called Seekest Thou the Road.
Yes, and by the way, I really like the names of these episodes so far.
Well, you know what I think they're doing? You remember in Rings of Power how the names of the episodes went with, you know, the quote about the ring?
Yeah.
Okay, the names of these episodes seem to be following the lyrics of...
To the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that. All right, so we got Seekest Thou the Road, and it starts off like, holy, really? Talk about how, like, there's no lead up. We just start off with something big, Andrea, and you love true crime, so go for it, girl.
Well, before we get to the, right, I just like that she's humming, and the song of the episode is what she's humming, which I thought was interesting. But then we get to, what I thought was a car crash at first, because I was like, what is going on? Why are all these cops here? And then you find out that she's a cop, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It was detective, I should say. She's not an average cop. She says the chief told her that she needed to come out of hibernation and that he's got a case only she can solve, which I was like, oh, okay. So she's like the top dog or whatever. You see a dead body, and you find out that she is a female and she was crushed by something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crushed? But she didn't look crushed, but apparently she was. So maybe if we got a closer look up, I don't know.
You know, I chalk that up to being a magical being. Maybe you're crushed, but not that crushed, because she really doesn't look crushed. But we don't see face or anything, so maybe it's that.
I thought originally she was just dumped there, but then you find out all this other stuff later, and you're like, oh, she wasn't dumped. I mean, she was, but, like, who put her there? Well, her name is Agnes at first when you meet her. My favorite weather is fall. I love fall. It looks cold and rainy, and it just rained, it seemed like, and like the leaves were turning orange. So it's just very pretty, the scenery.
It is. It was very pretty, and it's different than any other Marvel scenery we've seen. So that made it interesting for me.
Yeah. And she finds like this locket in a puddle, and I thought that was pretty random, but really cool. And then I originally thought that was the victims, but there's a lock of hair in it, which I was like, what?
I thought it was the victims too. Do you remember in the beginning of Miss Congeniality, Sandra Bullock?
Yes!
Okay, it's giving that for me.
Yes! She's acting, like her hairstyle, her clothing, like it. I loved her from the second she was on screen. I was like, you are my person. Like, you were perfect.
Yeah, it's like, it's the ornery cop that's not afraid to get an attitude and also not afraid to walk away when somebody's in mid-sentence. I was like, oh, okay, this feels familiar. Great acting, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Catherine Hahn is the actress's name, and she's a great actress.
You know, I think most people know her being, like, comedic. And the fact that in the entire first episode, there's not much comedy and she holds it really well, I think is very impressive.
Oh, yeah. She felt very down to earth. I mean, even when she becomes what she is in the episode 2, she still seemed down to earth to me. Also, the victim had something stuck to her, it was like a library checkout card. Yep. And I thought that was interesting. And I was like, of course, it's a book. Yeah, it's something to do with a book. And I love books. So I was excited when they went to the library.
Yeah, it's like true crime. It's fall. There's a library. It's like, oh, they made a show for Andrea. That's very nice. How nice of them. I liked the scene with the librarian. I thought that was funny.
Well, because like there was a long line, and Agnes just kind of steps in front of everybody, and she's like, "Hello, police work," kind of thing, and I would do the same thing. Honestly, it seemed like a small town, so they're probably used to this. The librarian's like looking at the card, and she sees that there's like no names on it. So she looks it up, and the book is called Dialogue and Rhetoric, Known History of Learning and Debate. And I was like, that is a word salad name of a book.
Yep.
And I was like, was this checked out by the victim or the killer? Because it was just odd, you know?
Yeah, so it is a small town, and it gives that vibe. So this is Westview, and that's the town that Wanda put her hex over. And honestly, I thought when she died that like anything she did would just dissolve, but apparently not. Apparently it doesn't. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I feel like we're going to find out more about that specific magic, like towards maybe like mid to end of show. I don't know. Like it's just a different kind of magic. I can't think of magic that remains after the person has died. Like I can't think of much that does that. It usually just dissolves.
I don't want to call it delusion, but the level of like craziness that Agatha really thinks she's in this world. Yeah. And like in episode 2, you'll see when she tells him, the kid that's with her, hey, we're going to drive, or I'm going to drive. And the car is in her living room. It's not actually a car. It's like, wow, Wanda really messed her up. I'm just saying.
And it kept going. And that's all the people in Westview. And so like you find out that there's also like a hex within a hex. Like it's just a lot. So Agent Vidal shows up as the FBI agent that the detective obviously doesn't want poking her nose in her business. No. And she did a really good job of that. And they have like this back and forth. And the more back and forth they have, the more it's like, okay, first you're thinking, oh, they must have worked together on something and didn't get along. And then it gets a bit more and a bit more. And then you start like thinking, this seems a little extra, but we'll get into that later. I knew you would pick up on the chemistry between the two of them like immediately.
Yeah, they have really good chemistry. When she's like, do you remember why you hate me? I was like, God, she doesn't even remember that. And she doesn't remember where she traveled, because she's like, I've traveled everywhere. And she doesn't remember where she's traveled. I was like, Wanda, you seriously messed her up. God.
You can tell Vidal is trying over and over again to get her to realize who she is, because she even asked her, she's like, is this how you really see yourself?
Yeah.
You know, and like she keeps asking her questions like that. What tripped me out was when she said, if you want to be in control, you can be. And I was like, yeah. Oh my, that is very deliberate.
When we get introduced to this kid that broke into, you know, Agnes's house, and he was in, I think, the room of her son.
Yeah, so Agnes goes back home, and Vidal shows up with pizza. It just seems like a cop show, and they're talking about, you know, the case or whatever, and then like she hears something, and yeah, they just refer to him as Teen, but he took something out of her son's room, and her son's name was Nikki.
Yes.
And we know something's happened to him because his room is just, you can tell it's pristine. Like it was kept the way it was for a long period of time, you know?
Yeah.
So you get the feeling, where's Nikki? Well, Nikki isn't around. So she gets really pissed off because this person has stolen something from that room and runs away. And
Yes.
she goes after him.
She goes after him, and he gets hit by a car. And so she arrests him and takes him to the precincts. So she's going to interview him and figure out what's going on. She's got like a folder, probably, with all the case notes, because they don't know who he is. He's not in the system. He refuses to give his name, which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. And she goes and interviews him. She shows him pictures of the crime scene.
Yeah.
And she's like, who is this? Like, what did you do to her? And he's like, I don't know who that is. That's just a bunch of flowers. And she's like, what? And she looks down, and there's just a bunch of flowers, pictures of flowers. She's looking towards the two-way.
Yeah, the two-way mirror in the interrogation room.
He's like, why do you keep looking at that painting? And she's like, what? And I was like, what? Oh, did you catch what he said to her in the incantation?
I think he was trying to wear off whatever hex with whatever he was saying. It sounded like Latin.
Went so fast, I should have paused it. But I liked that. That scene was very well acted by both of them, because he's like freaking out, she's freaking out, and I'm freaking out.
Oh, yeah. It's really weird because you don't know what's going to happen, because it's like, okay, everything's changing. Like, where are they really? What's going on?
She drives to the morgue, and she's like thinking, I know that I saw a body. Like, I know I saw her. Like, she was listing like how tall she was, the color of her hair, which was scarlet, and then she looks at the foot.
And the morgue is creepy.
It should have had at least a couple of people in there, and there wasn't. When she looks at the card on the foot, it is the same card from the library. At the very end of the card, a name pops up, and it's W. Maximoff. I thought that was freaky.
It was very freaky because it's a toe tag. So it's a library book tag, but it's a toe tag of a dead body at a morgue, and we see the scarlet hair. So we know who it is, and it's just creepy because she's dead. I know there's a theory that she's going to come back because, like, in the very beginning of the first episode, she says she's really most sincerely dead. And I don't know. I don't think she's going to come back. I don't. But hell, I could be wrong. That could be a surprise. But I mean, what would she do if she did? I think she's just dead. I think she's gone.
I think there's no more Wanda, to be honest, or at least that version of Wanda.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but there's a lot of people on TikTok that really want her to return. I'm like, I don't think it's about that.
We see Vidal again, and she's talking to her. She's trapped in the spell, and Wanda is dead. And she's like, I forget what she said. Do you remember what she says to her?
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. So Agnes asks Vidal, how did she die? And Vidal says, wrong question. And then she says, that witch is gone, and all the copies of the dark hold with her, leaving you trapped in a distorted spell. But you don't have to stay in there, do you? So I guess the distorted spell, I guess it's a remnant of the spell because Wanda's dead, I guess.
Well, I think you're right. And I really like all the outfit changes she goes through. That was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Like, so she starts coming out of the hex, and she wants to be herself again. So she's peeling off clothing like it's something disgusting, which she goes through like different outfits that she wore in WandaVision. And she's like clawing this clothing off. Like she can't stand it. And it is kind of funny. It's amusing. And Vidal says, there are two Jane Does. You know her name, so what's yours? And I was like, okay. So I think it's Vidal and the teen are the reason that she's able to kind of get out of it. But I have questions of how the hell they even got in there.
Anyway, so she ends up back at her house.
Yeah.
And she's naked.
She's naked. Like full on ass. We see full on ass. And this is one of the funniest scenes.
And she's walking outside. She's obviously pissed off, but I mean, she knows who she is now, but she's mad. And she's going out there and she goes to the guy that was like her partner or whatever. Well, not partner, but like worked at the police station. And he's her neighbor. And, and she's complaining about being in the spell. And she's asking him how long she's been like this. And he said, well, 3 years.
And she's pissed. She's so angry.
And I think it's funny that they try not to say Wanda's name. It's like, he who should not be named, like Voldemort or, you know, the Night's King. I think that's funny.
Oh, yeah, it's just like that. They're afraid to say her name. And, like, at one point, there's, like, some graffiti that looks like her little mask thing. And there's, like, a line through it. Like, they're afraid of her, dead or not. They're terrified. But her neighbor is like, he's trying to not see her naked. He's like holding his hand up. Oh my God, it was funny.
I like when the neighbors come out, like it's the librarian and then the police chief and like he's still staring at her, but I guess they're married or something. And the wife's like pulling him back and they have a kid and and she's like, oh right, the librarian it was really funny.
Yeah, and she's basically like talking to her neighbor. She's naked and she's like, What's been going on? And he's like, well, the true crime bug did bite you. And I'm like, oh my God, so that means she's been acting like this detective in like just normal Westview. And they've been playing along with her, thinking that she's crazy.
It's so fun.
It's a really funny scene, y'all. And her hair is strategically over her chest. So she is full on naked talking to this poor neighbor.
He even says when she goes back into the house, you need to put some clothes on.
God, it was funny. So she knows who she is. She goes back in the house and Vidal is like very happy that she knows who she is because they got beef.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Oh, by the way, she still got that kid locked up, and she's like, "Well, I guess this is more like kidnapping."
Yeah, because he's tied up in a closet.
He's got tape over his mouth.
Yep. Because she thought she put him away in like a cell. No, you put him in a closet. Oh man.
I like how she says about Wanda when she goes to the basement. She's like, what did she say? She took everything I had and left me with household appliances.
Yep. She's pissed. She's so pissed.
Rightfully so. I think they all should be mad, to be honest. But
oh yeah. 3 years. 3 years. That's a long time. And to not even know what you did really in those 3 years.
I know. She could have done anything, to be honest. Vidal comes in, takes off the door, basically, like blows open the door.
Did you like Vidal's outfit?
Yeah, she looked hot. She looked good.
She looked fantastic. She's got like heavy smoky eye and all black with like a black hood. And even the knife that she has, it looks like a black claw. It's cool.
Was really cool, but I was sitting there thinking the same thing Agatha was, like, wouldn't you want her to fight you back? I mean, maybe, kind of. Like, most people, when they're after somebody, they want them to be tougher than they are. I don't think they'd want them to be weak just to be, I mean, that's just easy, you know?
Look, as soon as she said, don't you want me at my best? And Vidal retorts, horizontal. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, did that really just happen? Don't you want me at my best? Horizontal. And I was like, what have y'all done? Never mind. You can't tell me that this is not some relationship gone bad. There's just too much of that, which I loved. It was actually like really funny. And it's actually surprising for like, you know, MCU. So it doesn't really feel MCU.
No,
really.
It feels separate from that. She tells her that, you know, good luck, basically. I'm not the only one who wants to see you dead. And she talks about the Salem 7. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but yeah, that doesn't sound good because the way that Agatha looked after that.
Okay, so Andrea and I, we both like Marvel. and have for a long time, but we're not like deep lore Marvel. So, who are the Salem Seven?
Well, according to what I Googled, it says that the Salem Seven is a fictional team of magical beings and former supervillains appearing, in the Marvel comics. They were apparently foes of the Scarlet Witch and the Fantastic Four, but became allies to both of them. And all seven are the children of Nicholas Scratch, which is Agatha Harkness's son.
Okay, so I wanted to know that who Nicholas was, so I Googled that. So, Nicholas Scratch, the son of the powerful sorceress Agatha Harkness, hails from New Salem, a hidden enclave in Colorado founded centuries ago by survivors of the Salem witch trials. This hidden enclave, populated by magic users, was created to escape persecution. The identity of his father remains a mystery, with some speculating demonic origins. So his dad could be like a straight up demon. I have a feeling you're going to like him. I'm not saying, his dad's a demon, so that's why you're going to like him. Actually, yes, I am. But unlike his mother, who chose to leave the secluded magical community and integrate with the outside world, Nicholas harbored resentment. So Agatha, over time, not only distanced herself from New Salem, but also took on the role of nanny to Franklin Richards, the son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, who are members of the Fantastic Four.
That's so interesting.
I feel like knowing that, other things make more sense. So apparently Agatha's first appearance is in the Fantastic Four. So that's kind of where she came from. So people speculate that she is going to be involved in those films, and I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
So now we know who Nicky is. We don't know where he is, if he's alive or dead, but we know who he is. And apparently he spawned the Salem Seven.
Ooh, I love that. That's basically how they ended the first episode. What I liked about the beginning of it, though, they make it look like this is like a TV show because they list the names of the characters instead of the actors at the very beginning. And then they call it Westview something. And then it's normal after that. But I just thought that was funny.
I really liked it. I think it was really well done. I think it was a good idea to have the first episode be like the audience is also inside the hex. I like that.
I gave episode 1 10 out of 10. I didn't have any complaints. I thought it was really good.
I didn't have any either. And I'm 9.5 out of 10. And the only reason I don't say 10 out of 10 is it's got to be an episode where I'm so excited and blown away. I literally stand on like the coffee table or something. Like 10 out of 10 is saved for episodes that have things like when Drogon comes in and takes out the Lannisters with obviously Daenerys. Like, you can't top that in my brain. So 9.5 out of 10, very much enjoyed it. Immediately watched the second episode.
Circle Zone with Fate, unlock the hidden gate.
That's just cool. It's just cool. It sounds cool. It's witchy. I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah.
Since Teen, we're still calling him Teen, since he knows that she knows who she is, he's trying to ingratiate himself to her because he wants, I would assume, more power. And then we find out he wants to go to the road. We start hearing about the road. And I already knew the road was going to be a big deal because that song has been trending on TikTok for weeks.
Yeah, I like how it says the road will lead you to what you want if you make it to the end. And I'm like, well, and apparently Agatha's already faced the road and have come back from it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I think he knows that. Didn't you get the feeling that he was like a super fan of hers?
Oh, yeah, and all the other witches is because he knows everything about everybody.
Yeah, he really does. And he's giving fanboy. But, okay, so some people in like reviews, they hate him. They hate his character. They hate his acting mostly. He's gotten a lot of shit. A lot.
I don't get it. He's a good kid, seems like.
They all say he's really annoying.
Well, they can deal with it, because I think this is going to be one of those things where he's like an apprentice to her, and I like that. I'm obsessed with it. I like when, I mean, he could end up being something completely different, but to me, I think the way that the road that they're going down, it seems like he's going to end up being an apprentice to her, or like a father or a mother-son sort of relationship.
Yeah, the only thing I picked up on, he's British and he's doing an American accent, and there were a few times that you could hear the British come through. There's that, but I don't know. There's a lot of reviews that just talk about the actor didn't do very good acting and whatnot. I think they're desperate to find something to complain about, and that's really the only thing they could come up with, honestly.
All I've seen is that it's not geared towards actual fans of Marvel, because it's a woman-led show, and I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But whatever.
Wait a minute. It's giving Rings of Power anti-fans that think it's an abomination.
Well, they can screw up because it's really popular, and I like it so far, and you seem to like it so far, so they can just hate watch. It's fine.
Okay, I find this really funny. Okay, so the first series we reviewed is House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon pissed off a lot of lore-based fans. Then we did Rings of Power, and that pissed off another group. And now it's Agatha, and apparently that's gonna piss off, like, Marvel over-the-top fans. Oh god, that's funny.
It is great. I love it.
I know, but, like, are we about to go through Blue Wizard 2.0?
Probably.
Shit.
So, yeah, this is definitely going to be misogynistic hate, though. That's just funny.
Oh, God. I'm already on that radar, Andrea. So now instead of, like, the Tolkien purists coming for me and you, it's going to be, like, Marvel dudes saying that, like, we're like feminists or something. Oh, God. It's not funny, but I'm sorry, but it's funny. Because, like, we just walk into this shit with, like, no intention. Well, if you're a Marvel super fan and you're angry and you hate listening to us, that's totally fine. Follow us on social media. I'll insert it right here. Hey, look, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine.
Follow your favorite podcasters on all social media at Southern Mother of Dragons and at the Princess of Dragonstone.
Okay, so episode 2 very much gives a we're getting the band back together vibe, which I loved. I like that a lot.
What else I noticed, and I think it's very interesting, is that whenever he talks about himself, she can't hear him speak. I don't know if that's still part of the spell or somebody is making this happen.
So I think it's a hex on him, a very specific hex that prevents him from saying his name or anything about where he came from. He just sounds garbled. And his lips, you can't read his lips because it makes them blurry. Yeah,
and I thought that was cool, but what's also interesting is that, like, that's why in the beginning when she was introduced, or, talking to him as a cop and trying to get information out of him, and he couldn't say anything. I mean, like, he didn't refuse to say anything. I thought originally it was because of the spell, but maybe not. I meant like somebody is continuing to do something, but I guess it's still the hex, like you said. So I think that's very cool. I thought they did that really well done.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a separate hex. I think it's a hex on him.
Well, who put one on him is my question.
Hell if I know, but I think it's a specific hex on him, and it's because of who he is, which I'm sure we'll find out.
Well, and I still can't get over the car in the living room. I'm like, this is really funny. And she's like, oh wait, the fact that she goes and sits on it, and she's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, what? And then she realizes, oh, this isn't a real car. I'm like, girl.
Yep.
Girl, you're still messed up in that.
Well, and so she obviously wants her powers back, and he is like, he's basically like winding her up a bit, like saying like, yeah, don't you want to go to the Witch's Road? You want your powers back? Like pushing her along about it until she's like, you know what? Yeah. And apparently that's the only way she could get her powers back, and then we get like a little bit of lore. Apparently, there is a certain amount of witches that will always exist within a 30-mile radius. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a lot of like magic in their blood or whatever to actually make a witch. Like they just need a little bit, which I thought was interesting.
Just like a drop of dragon blood. You just need like a drop of witch blood, apparently. So she knows that she needs a coven to get to the Witch's Road.
This was really fun.
Yes. Okay, like the first one that she goes to see is played by Patti LuPone. The first time I ever saw Patti LuPone was in American Horror Story Coven. Get this, Andrea, get this. So in Coven, do you remember the psycho Christian neighbor?
Yes.
Okay, so that's her. You remember the son?
Yes.
Okay, that's Uhtred.
That is insane. That is really weird.
I know. She's a fantastic actress. She was amazing in Pose. So good. She played a very unlikable character. And she did such a great job. And apparently she's just done like everything. Like iconic.
What I loved about this, because she's playing a psychic, right? Well,
Yep.
supposedly. And she, before they go in, you see Agatha putting on a pearl necklace, and then she's putting her hair up, and she's like, "Let's go see if she knows the magic handshake." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then they go in, and she's pretending to be a southern mother.
God.
And she's got her fake Southern accent going, and she calls him the teen Buford, which I'm like, you could have come up with a better name than that.
I'm giving them a pass. the trope, the Southern mother trope, the pearls and Buford. I was like, no, please no. And her accent.
Her accent was perfect. Very good acting.
It was. But like, I was like, oh God, this is literally everything. This is everything I talk about. It was just perfect.
Well, and Buford, I'm like, I know one Buford down in Tennessee, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot of Bufords out there. Like, I was just like, what the heck?
Jesus Christ. So she knows that this witch is pretending to be like, one of those roadside psychics, basically. And it's Lelia, right? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
All right, so Lelia, she knows who it is from the beginning. I mean, it's Agatha. She's like iconic as a witch. Well, and she's like, no.
She's like, what witch in their right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven? I'm like, well.
Yep. Which also means that Lelia sat there the whole time when she's doing this fake Southern thing and kept a straight face somehow, which that makes it even funnier.
I also like when she talks about her age too, because she's like, what are you, 4-something or 430 or 430, 420 or something like that? And she's like, excuse me. And she goes, sorry, you don't look a day under a 450.
Yeah, that was really funny. So we know she's a real witch. Yes. And apparently we gain from this that a coven needs different types of witches. It can't just be just witches. It has to be like witches that, what would you say, like have a specific area, I guess?
Yeah, like earth, wind, fire kind of thing, Yeah. But, I mean, it's not exactly like that, but pretty much like that. And I also like knowing that Agatha can't steal magic unless she is blasted with it. And, before we find out that Lilia is really a witch, she makes the 16-year-old, we find out that the teen is 16, the 16-year-old pay for the session. Because she doesn't have any money, but it's still funny.
Yep. And so we find out she's really a witch and she needs something. Yes. So that's how Agatha's able to talk her into it. Because she has an eviction notice on her door. So she needs money like yesterday. And it just shows like Agatha doesn't have her powers, but she noticed the eviction notice and she's picking up on all sorts of stuff. Like she's really smart. She knows exactly how to manipulate, and we get more of that as the episode goes on. Yeah,
Animals in this episode. Did you know this? Who the heck is doing that?
All right, you want my theory?
Yes.
Okay, what all do we see? There's a bird.
A rat or a mouse. There's also a coyote.
I think it's Rio.
That makes sense. She's Earth magic, right?
Yep. She's a green witch. So I thought green witch, like animals, you can kind of see it.
It was freaking me out, and it was also freaking Agatha out, too, because she was like,
And I think Agatha knows it's Rio.
Oh, yeah.
First, I thought it was the Salem 7. I thought it was something sent by them. And then,
that's what I thought, too.
Yeah, but, the animals don't do anything to her bad except watch. So I was like, I think that's Rio.
So Lilia does magic or whatever and writes down quickly a list of witches, and there's her coven. So the first person on their list is Jennifer Kale, I think her name is, and she owns a shop of it looks like candles and edible candles, like you can eat it, which is odd. I'm like, interesting. So Agatha comes in, and they clearly don't like each other. I like how she says, "How far you fallen, witch killer?" Does anybody like Agatha besides this kid?
Nobody. I think Lilia might be a divination witch. Like, she can find things. That's what I think she might be.
And I'm trying to understand what Jennifer is.
Okay, Jennifer, because she makes the candles, I think she's a potion witch.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm just guessing at this. But I think Lilia can find things, and I think Jennifer's on that list because she can do a Eye of Newt potion, and that's why she has a shop making candles, so she makes stuff, I think.
Yeah, and she's also bound to stay there. She can't do anything. She doesn't have her powers really either right now, 100%. So she's kind of stuck, basically. And she also has a lot of legal trouble against her. So that's how Agatha didn't even know about that. It was the kid that found it out. He had it on his phone, and I loved that. I was like, man, you are just smart.
Yeah, he Googled her and found out that she was in a bunch of legal trouble because he knew that they would need, a reason to talk her into it.
And I'm like, 800 counts against her. 800. I'm like, what did you do to these people?
Oh, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Bad enough that she has to eventually say, you know what, I really don't have a choice. I guess I'm doing this.
And I like her. She's a good actress. Really good acting that scene. Her reaction and everything was perfect. And I like the back and forth between her and Agatha. It was good.
I like her too. I thought she did a really good job. She is a good actress. She's slightly familiar to me. I meant to look that up. I feel like I've seen her in something else. I really do. Okay, I thought you would really like the story of the next one.
Yeah, because she's said a blood witch, which is a child of a witch. The mother is the one that created the song about the road, which is really cool. Her name is Alice Wu in the show. She's working at a store in a mall.
She used to be a cop, and now she's she's mall security,
which is definitely a downgrade. Because mall cops are always made fun of, and it's sad, but they are because they're not really threatening. They don't even get a gun, so
Apparently, she can't keep a job.
I like how they lure her, having him look like he's stealing something, and then she tackles it. And then Agatha gets all mad, and she's like, "Hey, you just attacked my kid!" And the mall security comes in. I think her boss or something comes in and fires her. And I'm like, they just freaking fired her from her job.
Yep.
And
they cost her her job. They did.
Agatha's like, now that you're looking for another job,
I mean, it's like, damn. Now you don't have a choice. We got you fired. Do you want to come with us? I mean, what choice do you have? Like, you kind of get the vibe that her mom was like a bit of a Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
Like very famous, a witch, and like an icon. Like, her mom was really well known. I swear, I think it's like a Stevie Nicks reference. It has to be.
You're probably right, and I really enjoy her. I think she's very interesting, and for the little bit that we got,
She's angry.
she's very angry about probably her mom. She's got mommy issues, probably.
Definitely, she's got mommy issues.
Agatha says she's a tough nut to smash, and the teen goes, crack. I'm sorry, I just like the funny parts the most. The funny parts are just perfect.
Oh yeah, no, Agatha's not a sweetheart.
No, she's not.
At all.
Especially not at the end. Holy shit.
No, God, no. Not a bit. So Lilia needed money. Jennifer is about to be sued for fraud and criminal endangerment and may go to jail, probably go to jail. And Alice can't hold a job, is angry, and has mommy issues.
Yep. Good coven, huh?
Woo!
I like when they go to the house, and I like the outfit that Agatha wears, and like she's got like a like a cloak looking thing, and she just looks. I like her hair piled up on her head. It looks really nice. And there's a sign that the teen puts up that says "Welcome Coven," and I can't. He's such a nerd.
Oh yeah, and he was trying so hard, and he has like hors d'oeuvres for them.
I know. He's so cute.
And what was it? It's like an old granola bar, and he's like, I didn't have much to work with. It's just funny.
Well, she's been under this thing for 3 years, so she probably doesn't have a lot of food in her house. That's good.
Yeah, and he's like, that's all I had. So I tried. And she rips down the sign that says welcome.
I feel bad for him, because he probably worked really hard on that.
Yeah, he tried. He tried.
So they all do get there, even Alice, because it didn't seem like out. And I still don't know how she figured out where they were, but
I guess she just had a feeling, maybe they Googled them or something, because she had the names.
True. That's very true.
I guess, but we do get a little more backstory when all the witches arrive at the house.
Yes.
So, and Lilia is really interesting because she was around during the Salem witch trials, and she's afraid of being punished for using magic. So that's why she wasn't using magic when she was doing like the psychic readings. She was just using like tricks. Because, I mean, if you went through the Salem witch trials, I'd probably be afraid to use magic too. There's a lot connected to Salem with this, which I find cool.
Yes, and I'm sure we're going to probably find more out about that. But they tell Agatha that they need a green witch, and she's not excited about that for whatever reason. And I'm assuming it's because of Rio. Yep. But she ends up going outside and going to get one, and it's Mrs. Hart. And Mrs. Hart is played by Deborah Jo Rupp, who is a really funny actress, and she's a really good actress. And she's like gardening. I mean, look at her yard. Her yard is immaculate, and she looks like a little old housewife. That's what she looks like, and it's cute. And it doesn't look like Agatha was thrilled to go ask her. And I'm not really sure if she is 100% witch. She might have some, or she just might forget who she actually is. But I have a feeling she might be darker than we think.
She's either going to be darker than we think, or we find out that Agatha just did that so the other witches would shut up.
That could be too, because she seemed really annoyed with them most of the end. So,
yeah. And they keep bringing up, like, we need a green witch, we need a green witch. Well, she's like, all right, fine. And she goes and gets, like, the lady with the nicest lawn. I'm like...
And she invites her to a party at the house, which is funny, because I'm like, that's not what you're doing, but, you know, that's a good way to get her to come over.
Yeah, that whole scene was just really, really funny. After that, since it's everybody, and everybody, for whatever reason, needs to go to the road, except for Mrs. Hart.
She even asks if they're gonna do laundry together. I'm like, that is just the cutest thing.
She's clueless. She's completely clueless.
No idea.
So they start to chant, and it's the song. And Mrs. Hart is like, should I know the lyrics to this?
I'm like, yep, you probably should. I don't remember the lyrics, but I really do like this song. I think it's beautiful. They all make fun of each other kind of at the end, but it was, I liked it.
Yeah, and so the Salem Seven are after Agatha. And
Yes.
since those other witches are in her coven now the Salem Seven will be after all of them.
Yep. And they are very interesting looking.
They're creepy. They're very creepy. And they show up, but they don't catch them, obviously.
The way one of them was coming down the stairs, crawling, yeah. I was like, this is, and that makes sense about the demonic thing. They might have demon blood in them too, just like their dad. Yep. So,
didn't that surprise you for Disney?
Yes.
This is not Disney Junior at all. Like, it was for real creepy, like a horror movie. It was.
I mean, it was even freaking out the teen because when the door popped up, he's like, I don't care. Let's get out of here. I'm going now.
Yep. Hell, I would have too.
But I like how after the song that they sing, Agatha says, she's like, it didn't take this long last time to sing this song. And then she calls them a bunch of has-beens and could-have-beens and a team of rejects. And I'm like, you're doing this on purpose to get them to blast you so you can take magic. And before anybody said anything about it, I was like, girl, you are so funny.
Woo! It was a lot. It was a whole lot.
I liked the argument. It was good acting from all sides.
It was. And I printed out the lyrics to the song because I think the series is going to follow the song, which I think is really cool.
Me too.
And so the first part, obviously, there's the chorus that's down the winding road. Okay, so the road is wild and wicked, winding through the wood, where all that's wrong is right and all that's bad is good. Through many miles of tricks and trials, we'll wander high and low. Tame your fears, the door appears, the time has come to go. So that tells us all of them are in because it literally says in the chant, hey, if you have something wrong, we can fix it.
Yeah, and I like that. And then when the door appears, it kind of takes a minute for the door to appear, but I still liked it. And then when they all go down there, that's when the seven almost gets to them, but then they get down there. And I like how Agatha says, I never doubted us for a second. And I'm just like, girl.
Ma'am, you are like the big bad of witches. They hate you. And you have some sort of relationship with a very dark witch.
Yes.
That also hates you, sort of.
I'm very curious to see how that goes. And then, why did they take off their shoes, do you think? The girl that they found that was dead, she had no shoes on.
The only thing I can think of is, you have to be, touching the earth, maybe?
Oh, maybe.
That's the best I can guess.
Okay, it says... Jack Schaefer, who is the series creator, said a passage can be found explaining why witches remove their shoes when embarking down the witch's road. Ye shall remove your shoes before touching the hallowed ground in order to connect to the power of the earth. You were correct. You must touch your feet to the soil and channel her divine magic through you.
Oh my God. I got that
You were right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Hell, I feel like I got a cool point.
You do.
Okay, I'm going to take that and be very happy with it. Another good episode. Very good. I'm giving the same. I'm 9.5 in it.
10 because I really loved the Salem 7. You know me, I like dark. And I like how they look. They're all wearing black, cloak-looking things. And they have, at least the leader. I mean, I'm assuming this one's the leader just because they showed his face. But his eyes looked kind of different. Yep. I don't know how I would describe it other than looking kind of milky.
Yep.
and he had some kind of veil covering his face. And again, I like the crawling. I watch a lot of horror, and when they crawl, it's freaky. So I like seeing that.
That's why when I was talking to you about it, I was like, this is not like normal MCU. This is not normal Disney, because they put those really creepy elements in there, and also nudity. So
Yes.
it's very different, and I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
I do too, and I can't wait to see more of the 7.
I'll just say they're scary as shit.
They are, and when they say to survive the end of the road, they must face a lot of interesting things down there. So I'm very excited to see what that entails.
I think it's going to be really good, and I'm really glad we're watching it, and it's already been fun. So, yes. What do you think is going to go on next episode? Probably like trials.
I think trials, and we're going to see like the beginnings of what they have to face. And I'm very curious to see if they're all going to like combine and work together, or if they're just, I mean, I don't, they probably have to, but you know, I'm just curious to see like the attitudes of everybody.
Ooh, you're right. I bet it will be tests that force them to work together. You're right. Yep.
Yep. And I have a feeling, at least, I think they're all going to be friends at the end, but I could be wrong.
At least they'll be all right with each other.
They won't really hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if they'll be hugging it out, but you know Agatha is going through an arc. You know that.
Yes.
It's very obvious because we get the room of the son that we don't know what happened to him, and it's kept just like it was. And then obviously the locket, that must be his hair.
I wonder if we're going to see her son at all.
I feel like we are, because they showed that empty room, and then they've shown us that she kept a lock of his hair. And then look, I feel like this is an arc. We're going to understand how she became what she is.
Yes, very true.
Well, and see, that's why I'm glad we don't know. Like, we've never read those comics, because we get to go into it like this, and we don't already know everything that's going to happen. So that makes it more fun.
Oh, yeah.
And it also increases our chances of irritating someone that's really into Marvel lore, which we're good at that. Woo!
Yay.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us. We will have our next episode next Monday. We're going to do 2 Agathas at a time, because it just works well, and there's already several that are out. But we're very much looking forward to watching it, and I think it's a great show.
Yeah, me too.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners, and to ask that if you like this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast, and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com. And the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back and forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.